Witch in Charm's Way, a cozy mystery audiobook, written and narrated by R.K. Dreaming. Part 31. Allegra, Jasper and I got to the family lounge to find it dim in there. All the curtains were still drawn against the daylight. When Allegra went to open them, I flinched. "No," I said quickly. The sunlight hurts my eyes." Allegra lit up the chandelier high above instead with her wand, lighting only half the candles to keep things fairly dim. "Is that okay?" "I wish I could do that," I said enviously, looking up at it. I had always been forced to use a lantern or to light the wall sconces, being unable to reach the chandelier. And I was always having to search for matchsticks in this place. I still hadn't been brave enough to do even the smallest of spells. I was going to have to stop being a wimp and just embrace the witching lifestyle in Brimstone. But I was worried. Either my paltry magic would make me feel crap, which was an embarrassing thing to admit to myself, or, once I started using even a little bit of magic, I might realise what I'd been missing and be tempted to use it when I got home to London. I was happy with who I was, wasn't I? I had carved a life out for myself without having to use magic at all. Allegra was looking at me with concern. "You don't look right. I should have known you weren't recovered yet. We should get Healer Haldy to take a look at you." "No," I said quickly. "I feel fine, and you know I don't like a fuss." But just then I went into a coughing fit. Jasper had taken a seat at the piano and opened the lid, sending a plume of dust into the air. I'd caught the brunt of it and inhaled a lungful. "Sorry," he said. "See?" she said. "It's the dust," I protested. Then, to distract her, I blurted the first thing that came into my mind. "So, you've met Chris Constantine now then. What did you think?" She frowned. "I was hardly going to be admiring him when he was busy arresting you." "Don't give me that," I said. "I know you're single and ready to mingle. Tell me you didn't think he was as cute as he is in his movies." She smirked. Cuter. Jasper started picking out a tune on the piano. We both stopped talking to listen. It was lovely and very familiar, though I couldn't put my finger on what it was until he started singing. "If you say, come with me off to Brimstone Bay beach." His voice was deep and lovely. "Then to Brimstone Bay beach we will go," Allegra sang with him. Her expression brightened. She went to sit beside him to continue their duet. Allegra had a beautiful singing voice, and so did Jasper. I could have listened to them forever. When they were finished, I cheered, "Yay!" and clapped my hands as Allegra blushed and laughed. Jasper gave her a high five, and I could have sworn she blushed harder. As if sensing my scrutiny, she got off the stool quickly from beside him and asked him, "What prompted that?" He raised an eyebrow. Shrugging one shoulder, he said teasingly, "You know, the two of you are as good as sisters, and one's a writer." All his pauses for effect were having no impact on Allegra, who was looking at him in consternation. He continued, "A handsome young man comes into your lives. You both start discussing how attractive he is." I threw a cushion at him. "If you're implying that we are little women, I will have you know that we are no such thing as little, thanks very much." Jasper laughed and caught the cushion. He threw it back at me. "Puffed," said Allegra. "Mr. High and Mighty Chris Constantine is a non-entity in my life." "That's what they all say," he said with a grin. "Ha!" I said. "High and Mighty is exactly what I think he is. Captain Villain calls him Mr. Fancy Pants." Jasper burst into laughter. "I hope he doesn't have a nickname for me." "You wish," I said. Maybe he's just taking his time, said Jasper. I would hate to think I was beneath his notice. Allegra rounded on me. Don't you be changing the topic, Esme Westbrim. I haven't forgotten that I wanted to take you to see Healer Haldy. You were acting very oddly last night. Oh, that, I said. I felt odd after I had that drink that Lorcan Hardwick was going to give to you. And he would have succeeded if Petra hadn't taken it away and handed it to me instead. Allegra's mouth dropped open. No! Yes, I said. Have you done anything to annoy Lorcan recently? Not that I know of, she scowled. That cheeky little so-and-so. He's been taking a trick out of his sister's book. Remember how she tried to spike our drinks at that Halloween party back at school? I nodded. Jasper looked doubtful. I don't know. Lorcan is a pretty decent guy. He wouldn't play a prank like that. How well do you know him? I asked. Jasper shrugged. Well enough. We've hung out sometimes over the years. Well, I'm pretty sure he did put something in that drink, I said. You heard me running my mouth last night. I couldn't stop babbling, and I don't usually say stupid things like that. At least I hope not. Jasper looked thoughtful. Yeah, I have heard that the Hardwicks and you Westbrims don't get along. Allegra and I burst into laughter. That's an understatement, she said. The family feud is centuries long and will probably last another few centuries at this rate, I said. Yeah, I'm beginning to see that, he said. You don't really think that Lorcan is so mad at you for inheriting the castle that he's actually trying to harm you, do you? I don't know, I said. I didn't actually see him put anything into the drink, but it's just that I felt so ill afterwards, and I felt a bit, like I had lost my inhibitions. I couldn't stop saying that stupid stuff, even though it was going to get me into trouble. Maybe Lorcan just wanted to make a fool out of me. Or out of me, said Allegra. Either Westbrim would do, which just goes to show that he's a Hardwick to the core. What a dirty little trick. I would have thought he'd outgrown that stuff by now. But he didn't seem to dislike either of you, said Jasper. And it was he and his buddies who came over to join us. Yeah, but that was clearly Oberon's doing, said Allegra. Methinks young Oberon has a little crush on you, Esme. I snorted. I hardly think so. Oberon's nice. I like him, but not in that way. I'm pretty sure he feels the same. He's so easygoing. He likes everyone. I don't think so, she said thoughtfully. Oberon isn't the sort who chases after all the girls, unlike some people. She gave Jasper a dirty look. Hey, he protested. I nodded. Oberon seemed pretty hung up on Lily to me, and totally heartbroken. If he was heartbroken, then he wouldn't be out partying within days of her death, said Allegra. I shook my head. Petra told me she's been trying to cheer him up. She's been forcing him to go out. And anyway, I think Oberon wanted to hang out with us because he's confided in me and Jasper. We know how he feels. Oh, that's sweet, she said, coming to sit beside me and putting her arm around me. I hate to say this, but he is still a vampire. You know how people in this town are, and it's not just Granny. The whole witch and vampire thing is still taboo, even as just friends. Oberon's a nice guy, but he's still a vampire. I scowled. He's a dampire, not a vampire, and he's different. Everyone likes him. To my shock, Jasper was nodding in agreement with Allegra. A dampire can still turn a witch into a vampire, he said. The more a person hangs out with a vampire, the more of a risk they'll fall under the vampire's mesmerism. Even we Baina believe in the prophecy of Nosferatu. His voice trailed off because I was giving him a dirty look. But I thought you liked Oberon, I said. Jasper nodded. I do. I'm just saying what other people might be thinking. This is exactly why I left Brimstone Bay, I said angrily. Everyone is always sticking their noses into things that are none of their business. It's this small-town mentality. Or you could think of it as people trying to watch out for each other, said Allegra. After all, Brimstone Bay is unique, said Jasper, and we have our unique set of problems. I threw the cushion at him again, harder this time. Look at you, being all sensible and adult-like. He smirked. I can do that sometimes, but not too often. I've got a reputation to protect. His fingers played a jaunty little tune over the piano keys. He stopped when Allegra spoke. The lesson we've learned from now on is to never take a drink from any of the Hardwicks, not even Mr. Butter wouldn't melt in his mouth Lorcan. Agreed? I nodded. Agreed. Good, she said briskly, then added, Are your showers always cold in the mornings? Oh, I said, flushing. Sorry about that. It's just now that Aunt Adele is a ghost, I suppose she hasn't thought of things like that, and I didn't want to trouble her. The water heating system in the castle ran off magic since there was no electricity, and it was no longer working. Oh, Esme, said Allegra, looking upset. Why didn't you tell me? It's no wonder you've been unable to shake off this virus. Hi, you've reached the end. Comment the code words. I'm confused. Was it a bird or a plane? To confuse everyone who hasn't reached this part of the story yet. Thanks for playing along.